Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new video. Back up in the woods again, but as you can see behind me, I've been a busy little boy in my workshop. I did that temporary wood store just to keep the logs together last time I was up, and I knew that it was only a temporary thing, and I'm sure that at some point it would have got knocked down by deer. So I've made a new one, which actually turned out quite a bit bigger than I thought it was going to be. So I'm planning on sleeping in it tonight. There is a small amount of construction which needs to happen. I've got to put the roof, the sides and the back on, which won't take long because it's all pre-drilled, or the sides and the back are pre-drilled. Yeah, so that's one little project for today. And on the menu, got something a little bit special. I haven't done any kind of proper cooking for quite a few videos now, and so I thought I would try my hand at something. Now, this one is one of those things that I know on MasterChef they say, never ever do anything unless you've tried it. Well, I haven't tried this. I've got a rib of beef. I think it's a whole rib of beef. It's pretty big. And my plan is to braise it in port, which is what I did the lamb shanks in quite a few videos back. Then I'm going to, after about 2.5 hours, I'm going to sieve it and then carry on braising it until all of the meat falls apart. And then I'm going to reduce it and I'm going to make a ragu out of it. So I've got some pasta with me. As I say, I think it's going to work, and I think it'll be fine, but I haven't tried it. So come along with me on the journey. It's really hot today. I think it's about 32, 33. Well, it's hot for us over in the UK. Also, I've got a new shirt on. I don't know whether you can see it. My wife bought it for me. It's one of these clever things. It's a clever shirt. And in fact, it's so clever, I'm surprised it didn't wear itself up here. It's made by Parmesan, and it's got all sorts of treatments, and the fabric's something very special, so that it wicks and dries and repels insects, and it's got Velcro cuffs, so it goes nice and tight around your wrists. It's got more pockets than you can shake a stick at, and it's really nice. The material almost feels a bit like the fly sheet on the amok, but obviously it's not, because it wicks. So anyway, I'm waffling. I'm going to have a cold drink and I'll get back to you. just in case any critters walk past. Don't want them catching themselves on the corners. I just turn them over like that. And so there we have the finished article. I'm quite pleased with that. And I'll tell you what, it's like the perfect size for something. So now this, I'm really chuffed with this. It's a proper wool blanket, and I bought it the other day, and it was, I think it was £34. I'll put a link in the description so that you can see it, but for a proper wool blanket, it's really good value. And obviously I don't need that for insulation, it's just to protect the mat, because the last thing I want to do is pop it. So there you go, the bedroom is sorted set up. I think it's going to be really comfy under. Well, not that it's going to rain, but a miniature woodside cabin, or woodland cabin. My wife often takes the mickey out of me for everything having a bag to do with camping and bushcrafting. So I've got another bag. This one is for the fire pit, because there's always a bit of a problem with it, because when you've used it, it's obviously all dirty, and so the bag is quite a useful piece of equipment to keep it from making everything else dirty. Now, there's something else that I was playing with last week. I picked these up, little plastic boxes, so they're waterproof and drop proofs and everything, because I came out I think a couple of videos ago and it started raining, and so I had to be worrying about my camera kit, but well, that was quite neat. Everything, I had to cut the foam out, and everything fits in. So I've got my lights, I've got the GoPro, the Sony that I'm recording with at the moment fits in there, all the batteries, light, and the 2 microphones go in there. And then I've got a separate box with the charging equipment in. But yeah, I thought that was quite neat. So I've got to light the fire now. Obviously, because everything is so dry around here, then obviously I have to be very careful, which is why I brought the fire pit. I don't want the fire on the floor. So I'm going to clear the area where I've had fires before, and I'm going to light the fire there. So I'll come back to you when I've cleared the area, and I hope you all understand that it's way too hot to be doing any fancy fire starting procedures. So I've got one of those wood fire lighter things, and plenty of little twigs just off the ground. Interestingly to note, if you've got a piece of timber that's already been burnt like this, they actually light really easily. Another thing that's important is don't burn softwood, because it tends to spit. Certainly pine does. This is all oak. Next, I think the Dutch oven to start warming that up. Yeah, I'm just going to brown this meat off a little bit of cooking oil. That's actually rapeseed oil. I've chopped up the mirepoix already, and if there's any doubting about the size of this piece of beef, it's quite a beast. Right, cut that piece almost too big. Crikey. Well, I think that's coloured enough now, so the mirepoix. A bit of tomato puree. Right, now we're ready for the exciting bit. You obviously have to make sure that you keep your eyebrows away from this. So you need to burn the alcohol out. And sometimes it'll light and sometimes you need to give it a little hand. So you just let it go, and once the alcohol's burnt out, then you're good to go. Okay, so that's all of the alcohol burnt out of it now. So we can put our meat back in. I think we might have to move this mirepoix around a little bit. Some beef stock in as well. Water. Mixed herbs. And personal preference, I actually like to put a beef stock cube in as well, even though I've still got the beef stock in as well, but and then put the lid on. And then we retire a safe distance away from the fire because it's too flipping hot. And have a nice cold drink of water. I don't know whether you remember this from a couple of videos ago, but there's one that I carved on one of the videos and it's dried out now, so I sanded it down and oiled it. And this one was one that I made, oh crikey, tail end of last year, but the video didn't work. The meat's cooked now. It's been cooking now for about, I think it's about 4.5 hours, maybe 5 hours. So I'm just going to reduce the sauce down so that it's more gloopy. The meat's already falling apart, so hopefully it won't be too long. So it's doing quite nicely. The meat's kind of breaking down. And it's getting a bit more gloopy. It's got a little way to go yet, so it's probably about another 15-20 minutes. It's a shame the mozzies are out and I forgot my my insect repellent. Believe it or not, I started making this at about 4 o'clock this afternoon. It's now 10:20. So, yes, to say that I'm looking forward to this is an understatement. Time has come, pasta's done, so I was going to get rid of the water. Okay. So it's time to put it all together now. Rigatoni. Can't have something without pasta without Parmesan. Well, there you go. That's close to six and a half hours work. But it does look really tasty. So I'll go and get my fork and try it. Okay, so that's really tasty. It's got all of that flavour that's sauce for the lamb shanks had. I might reduce it down a little bit more, but I'm not going to do that this evening. It's late enough already, and I don't want to keep the fire going overnight when I'm not watching it, because obviously it's very dry at the moment. So I think it takes a long time to do it, but that's a success. I'll take that one. Tick in the box. Right, I'm going to finish eating it and I'll come back to you before I go to bed. Well, it's quite late now. I think it's about 11:45 or something. So I'm going to hit the hay. But yeah, so just off to the woodshed. So I'll see you in the morning. Good night. Good morning, everyone. Brilliant night in my little log store. I'm contemplating whether or not to stay out again tonight in it. But yeah, it was very comfortable. It's nice being on level ground. And yeah, it was a very pleasant night. Didn't go to bed until late, but I had a little lie-in this morning. I think it's about 8:30 now. 8:30, something like that. Sun's out again. These are the sorts of summers that I remember when I was a kid. Anyway, this morning I thought that I would briefly have a conversation about anxiety when you're out camping, whether it's wild camping or in a permissioned piece of ground, some people will suffer with, you know, a bit of anxiety. And it happens to everyone. But I think one of the things to keep in mind is that in general, there isn't a boogeyman waiting in the woods for you, because they'd be waiting for years to find anyone, so they wouldn't do that. I suppose if you take it on balance, it's a very safe pastime, because most of the time you're tucking yourself away so that you're out of sight, and if you're out of sight, you're out of mind. So is there anything you can do to reduce that? Well, I know that when you know, in the middle of the night when you hear something, like for a lot of people hearing a muntjac bark will be, and it's quite a noise, and it's a bit unnerving, I'm sure. But if they remember that certainly in the UK there isn't anything out here that's going to eat you, and you're off the beaten track, so you are almost always going to be fine. But it is kind of, it's getting that getting over that bit where you're a bit scared, and just putting logic back into it. And the best thing to do is to sit up, have a drink of water, take stock of it, you know, and I'm sure you'll be fine. Now, I know that a couple of videos ago when we were going to camp at that tin mine, we did bug out, but that was for a very good reason, and we weren't camping off the beaten track. We were very much on it, so there is a bit of a difference to that. But up here in the woods or on the edge of a field somewhere, generally you're not going to find anyone who has any issue. But yeah, I thought I'd just cover that. Someone else asked as well if wild camping was legal in the UK, and for the most part, no, it's not. You can do it down in certain areas of Dartmoor, and you can do it in Scotland, in most places, I think, in Scotland. But generally, you need to seek the landowner's permission. But I think there's a difference between camping and stopping overnight, because you can't make it any further. So that's what I tend to do. If I'm out somewhere, I'll stop overnight, which means pitch up late, leave early, leave no trace. That way there's no one really has any moan about things. Lovely. It's far too hot to mess around doing anything at the moment. I've got some sticks ready for later. I've got a steak and some potatoes, which I'm going to saute, and mushroom, onions, and I think I'm going to have some baked beans with it, which I'm sure will cause consternation for some people, but I quite like them. So yeah, I'm going to do that later, but it's just far too hot. Yesterday, cooking that beef rib, it was a bit too hot. I should have done something that took a lot less cooking, but it turned out fine in the end. But I think rather than a ragu, it's probably more of a something that you put with baby new potatoes and some vegetables. But nonetheless, it was an experiment, and it was a worthwhile one. It's just it was a bit hot. So today I'm hoping the whole cooking exercise will take about 20-25 minutes, if that, because I don't want to have a fire going for that long. It's too hot. But lucky I've got some cold drinks. I even had ice in my drink earlier. I've just finished that off. And this cool box, I put it in yesterday morning, and it was still ice. But it's lovely sitting out in the woods. The pigeons are cooing. Occasional squirrel seems to throw an acorn or two at me. And the muntjac deer didn't start barking until about 7:30 this morning, which was a real bonus. Well everyone, it's steak time. We're on one of those fire lighters. As I said yesterday, because the temperature's the way that it is and everything's so dry, it's really important just to have a small fire. You don't need to have a bonfire. That's the only wood that I'm going to be using for tonight's cooking fire. Doesn't need any more, so I've just got to let these go down so that they're closer to being coals, then we can crack on. Could really have done with the that foldable grill I've got, because these things aren't very low, so the grill plates don't stay there very easily. Flipping good char on this. It's because it's so close to the coals. But what we'll do is we'll move it right out of the way so that it can carry on cooking afterwards. In case anyone wants to know, the potato slices are parboiled. A bit of a hack. And this pan thing is a sandwich toaster. We'll call that done for a minute. Because I really haven't got much oil. It's a shame you can't smell this because it smells delicious. And there's going to be much more instant gratification than the cooking yesterday. Because I think this probably will only take about 20 minutes, the whole thing to be done. I think those are actually as done as I want them to be, so I'll put those into the... I'll try and put them into here. And then, lastly, so that's my supper for tonight. And what we'll do, we'll just grab this knife, have a look inside this. There you go. There's some pink inside. Lovely jubbly. Right, I'm going to get a fork and we'll get into this. I bought these a while back and then I couldn't find them. They're crispy onions. And I thought they made it an ideal little additional texture to it. Bit of that, some of that. Where's the onion? There's the onion. Bit of onion. Steak, baked beans and onions. That's really nice. Right, well I hope you'll forgive me, but I'm going to carry on and eat this, so I'll catch you in a minute. Well, I think it's fair to say that I didn't eat that, I devoured it. It was really tasty, that. And I know that there are many people who say that I shouldn't have the baked beans there, but I had sausage and beans out of a packet last time I was here. And I go for steak and beans. I think that's a much nicer combination. So, cheers everyone. 10 to 6. So, eating considerably earlier than yesterday. And it's still very hot. So I'm going to move away from the fire now. And I'll catch up with you in a little bit. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was another blinding day out in the woods. It's absolutely lovely out here. It was very, very hot though. Really enjoyed supper. That was great. And yeah, it's just been really relaxing. It's amazing how much easier it is to just empty your mind of all of the rubbish from your day-to-day world when you're out in the woods. So much easier. But anyway, I've got tomorrow morning, I'm going to move all of the wood, or once I've got all of the gear out of here, I'm going to move all of the wood in and take that down. And then the other bits of wood that I've got around the place, I'm going to put in here as well, so that it's everything's nice and neat. And I'll put those stones as well that I've got, I'll put those in here, so that everything's tidied away. But anyway, I'll see you in the morning. Well, good morning everyone. Another very, very nice night spent in the woodshed, which is now, as you can see behind me, become a woodshed, which is what it's supposed to be. I've got to head off a bit sharpish, so thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I really look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye bye.